Hi everyone, and welcome back to our fisheries apiary, and also doubles up as our queen rearing spot. So today we've been out inspecting and we've come over here to have a look at the nuke that we moved into the full-size hive and checkerboarded to see how they've been getting on. It's been about 10 days since we were last here to look at this particular colony. I did have a quick look in the feeder about 3 or 4 days ago, and they'd taken all of the feed down, so we topped it up about 3 or 4 days ago with probably another 3 or 4 kilos of sugar syrup. So hopefully they're actually getting on with drawing those combs and everything will be well. So we've not yet looked in them, so smoke is lit, as you can probably tell. It's going really well. We'll go over to the hive and see how they're getting on. So give them a little bit of smoke. Well, we did have an interesting situation with this particular colony in that we had a nuke alongside them and the bees were actually drifting between the two, so we moved the nuke away from this site and everything seems to have settled down. Well, we've got lots of bees up in the feeder. There's a little bit of food left in the feeder, but not much, so they've done a pretty good job. You can see this smoker is going really well. So we'll just pop a little bit of smoke under the feeder and then I can lift this off. Prime board off and looking down, yeah, they seem to be doing a fairly good job. Quick look at the underside of the crime board to see if the queen is on there. So let's have a look and see what's happening here. Certainly putting the stores away, so they'll be all set for the autumn. So we have some eggs in this outside frame, but not many. Oh, there's the queen. So the queen is on this frame. So that's always interesting what to do when you take the first frame out and you find that the queen is on there. So what I do is I don't want to shake the queen off. So it's a fairly easy job. I'm just making sure that she's still here. Yep. To just move one of the other frames out and then we can pop that frame back in and just remember to swap them round again. So we've got a few eggs that she's laid in this one of the new frames. So that's one of the checkerboarded combs. We've got wasps, seem to be getting everywhere at the moment. But with strong colonies, they're really not a problem. That frame has some brood, so I think it's safe to say that this colony has done a really good job in drawing out these additional frames. And as I keep saying, and you're probably fed up with hearing it now, so we've got eggs and brood in all stages on that frame. Bees will only draw out frames of foundation if they have two things, and it's resources of bees and resources of food. And as this colony now develops for the autumn and winter, we've got them set up nicely with a full brood box. The queen is laying eggs in pretty much all of these frames. This one's a little bit awry. They've actually drawn the comb so that it's bulging on one of the combs, and Then we've got a bit of a recess in the other, but we can sort that in the spring. I'm not going to do anything about it today. You can see this this bulge at the top here where they've pulled out the comb and filled it full of the stores. So we'll not worry about that until next spring, because if we start messing around with them now, certainly trying to remove that is going to induce potential robbing. More brood in all stages, lots of sugar syrup being stored. The bees are out. You might have seen some pollen coming in, which is excellent too. So we've got plenty of pollen coming in. And the slight trauma we had with bees drifting across, incredibly, the queen is back on this frame now. So she's run across from all the way from one side all the way across the other. Yeah, we've got them sorted, and what I shall do is just move this entire hive closer to the side of the stand, because it's a little bit awkward for me just reaching across as I am at the moment. So they're still drawing this one frame, but the queen has laid in it, so there's a little bit of work for them still to do on that frame. As I say, the smoker is going really well, we don't really need it. And this comb has been drawn out and extended. This was one of the originals. You might spot one or two rudimentary queen cups that the bees have been putting in. I've not seen anything in them, so at this time of the year it's unlikely that we'll get any swarming. I have to say unlikely, because it has happened to me before in September, believe it or not. So this outside frame still needs to be drawn on the outside face, but they're working well on the inner face, so we can just spin that one round and pop it back in. And I'm really pleased with that. That's gone really well. The bees are doing fine. And what we do need to do now is to get the Varroa treatment in. We're using the Apivar. We really should have treated all of the hives at the same time, but because they were drawing out these combs, I didn't want to put anything in the way that would prevent them from extending the comb. So we'll just take the top off this fresh packet. So we've got brood pretty much all the way across, so we'll space the treatment equally between the frames, and we can always move them as we come back and carry out our final few inspections. And one thing that I have been doing with these strips, blimey, this smoker is going really well. One thing I have been doing with the strips, when you hang them, because there's not a crease in the top, and I don't want to use pins to pin them in, by grabbing hold of the little V cutout and pulling on it, almost ripping it off, it allows the strip to hang flatter than it otherwise would. So we've been doing that over the last couple of days when we've been out treating bees. So somewhere equidistant between frames of brood, and if I just put this one in without bending the top, you'll see what I mean. Let's just pop it in this one and you'll see how it sits. So when you close it up, it sits really high, and it's not until you put the crown board on that it kind of pushes it down. But sometimes it pushes it down rather awkwardly and to one side. So I found that by just tearing it a little bit, it allows it to sit a little flatter. So we get these in place, and as the brood nest shrinks and moves around, we can move those strips around as well. And this one, remember, was closer in. It was the second frame in, so we'll just move this one to the outside again. I'm just going to shake the bees off this frame, so it makes it easier to put the frame back in place. And there's our inspection complete. That's looking really good. I'm not going to top the feeder up again at the moment because there is a little bit of food in there and there's not that much more for them to physically draw. We'll get the feeder back on, they can clean the feeder out, and then we can pop the roof on. So the feeder goes on top. When the bees have pretty much taken all of the syrup, you can remove these little covers, put them to one side, and the bees will come up and clean the rest of the feeder out, so it's almost completely clean and dry when you come to take them off. So that's quite a useful little trick. And then we can pop the roof back on, and I'm just going to slide the entire hive across this way a little bit. So now it's a lot easier for me to be able to carry out inspections. So that's a success, I think. Checkerboarding in August works, provided you have enough bees and you give them enough syrup. If you've got any questions about the process, or if you're thinking of doing it yourself, then drop a message beneath the video and we'll catch up next time. Thanks for watching. Ta-da!